Tampa Bay Times writer Andrew Meacham is in the storytelling business. But one story from his own past haunts him. That of his childhood friend, Stuart Fletcher Currin. When did you first meet him?
In the 5th grade. And he wasn't going to be a jock. He wasn't going to be a movie star, but he could be the smartest kid in the room.
Fletcher's early brilliance seemed to promise a bright future.
That's him. It's in the early 80s.
But shortly after that picture was taken, his behavior became increasingly strange.
I remember hearing about Fletcher believing that the FBI and law enforcement were attacking him with high-intensity beams of magnetic light. His mother finally got him to see a psychiatrist, and he accused the psychiatrist of being in on the plot.
Diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, Fletcher began leading a transient life. He fell out with his family and then seemed to fall off the earth. The last time you actually saw him was when?
Around late August 1999. I had a sense that the future was shifting, and not in a good way.
The last time anyone saw Fletcher was a month later, sleeping on this roadside bench in Seminole, Florida. At the time, he was 44.
And to be here and to just disappear is not something anybody expected.
Meacham admits that finding Fletcher soon became an obsession.
It took years. I looked for people on the street.
You mean you'd see somebody on the street and you'd say, I wonder if that could be Fletcher?
Yes, somebody with brown wavy hair.
Meacham even worked with a detective.
Not a trace. No contact with law enforcement. Not showing up as receiving any benefits. No one's heard from him. How does somebody fall through the cracks like this?
Sadly, it's not all that hard. In this country, at any given moment, there are roughly 84,000 people classified as missing. That is more than enough to fill every single empty seat here at the cavernous AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, home of the Dallas Cowboys.
There is no such thing as a disposable person. You know, every one of these people matters.
B.J. Spalmer is a director at NamUs, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, based at the University of North Texas Health Science Center in Fort Worth. There's something about seeing the picture that makes it different.
There is. It makes it real.
NamUs is the only federally funded database of the missing and unidentified open to the public.
Missing persons run the gamut, from your stranger abducted child to your runaway juvenile to your adult who goes missing and we fear that foul play has occurred.
Like Fletcher, adults do disappear, but laws are more geared toward finding kids.
There is a federal mandate that if a child goes missing, a law enforcement agency will immediately take a report from family. There is not a federal requirement related to missing adults.
Which may be why no missing persons report ever was filed for Fletcher. But this is astonishing. I mean, you've been through all of this, and basically, you still, until now, you have no answers.
Exactly.
Out of other options, Andrew Meacham scoured the NamUs reports on unidentified remains.
When you can't find him alive, you have to start wondering if he's somewhere dead.
He hit on NamUs case number 991145. An unidentified man found dead of a heart attack on this bench 5 days after Fletcher was last seen, and just 5 miles away. But Meacham was unconvinced.
The image that was accompanying this entry on the NamUs database didn't look enough like him.
He compared that image, an artist's rendering of what the unidentified man looked like when alive, to Fletcher's state identification photo. He still wasn't sure.
I think he was frustrated because he couldn't quite tell if that was his friend or not.
Bill Pellin heads up investigations for the medical examiner's office in Pinellas County, Florida, where the unidentified remains were housed.
This here is all of our unidentified case files.
The office has a high success rate in finding the missing, but in Fletcher's case, there was little to work with. No fingerprints, no obvious way to get DNA.
His friends' immediate family had all died, and so obtaining DNA from family members to compare to our unidentified person was not possible.
But then Meacham remembered a letter Fletcher had written to him almost 2 decades ago, in the days when people still licked envelopes.
There's the postmark, 1996, January 24th.
Would it be possible to extract DNA from saliva under the envelope's seal?
I've never heard of making an identification using an envelope.
I was expecting that they would say it's too corroded, it's too old.
But after weeks of work, the DNA team astonished everyone.
They took and opened the flap and cut out this section of the seal, and that's where they were able to extract DNA from that.
Wow. So all the DNA they're using came out of this little 1-inch strip
That's it.
from 20 years ago.
Yes. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. That is truly amazing.
It is.
So they had Fletcher's DNA, but was it a match? Whatever answer you get, it's not going to be good.
That's right, but at least it's an answer.
We talked to Andrew Meacham a day before he would find out. What does your heart tell you?
And my heart tells me I don't think it's him.
You don't think it's him?
No.
We're gonna go straight on down the last door on the right there.
And the next day,
So that's the envelope. Back to you.
in Pellin's office, the long-awaited news.
So based on that full profile from the envelope, your search for Fletcher's over. You found him.
Okay.
First came shock, then grief, but also relief.
You know, I'm just blown away.
Weeks later, on a warm morning in Olivia, North Carolina, Meacham joined a small gathering to bury Fletcher's remains in the family plot.
The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore.
16 years after Stuart Fletcher Currin died, alone and unnamed on a roadside bench, his childhood pal was able at last to say goodbye. You have turned out to be an amazing friend.
I think I've turned out just to be a friend. You know, I mean, this is what friends do. You don't let each other just disappear. And I'm sorry that I waited so long.